According to the dictionary, a valedictory is a speech of farewell. While I am not retiring until next summer, this is my final High Holy Day sermon as your senior rabbi. And so this is something of a valedictory. One of the great things about a valedictory is that the speaker has a great deal of latitude about the topic. The only problem is it's supposed to contain words of wisdom, and it's future-oriented. I hope to accomplish both this morning. Something else that came to mind. I thought there was this valedictory speech that supposedly Kurt Vonnegut gave in the mid-90s. It turns out that was an urban legend. It was really a newspaper column written by a woman named Mary Schmitz, I think that's how I pronounce it, in the Chicago Tribune, in which she imagined giving a valedictory speech concerning practical advice for life, including repeatedly urging the graduates, wear sunscreen. I too have a few practical thoughts to offer, but mine are about living Jewishly. My thoughts this morning are focused on expanding one's view of what does it mean to live Jewishly and how to ensure the Jewish future, as well as live a more meaningful life of our own. Before beginning, I want to say that I'm including in these thoughts all members of the Beth Shalom community, both Jew and non-Jew. I am exceedingly proud of the inclusive nature of this congregation and particularly grateful to those Jewish and non-Jewish parents who are raising Jewish children. In this morning's Torah portion, Nitzavim, Moses convokes all the Israelite community, including the non-Israelites, who are so integral to that community. It is in that spirit that the following is addressed to us all. So here we go. First, send your children and grandchildren to Jewish summer camp. If I have had one singular focus in my rabbinate, it has been to form and to help form a sense of Jewish identity in our youth and our adults. The simple fact is there is nothing more effective in fostering a lifelong Jewish identity than Jewish summer camp. I think that one of the proudest achievements of this congregation is that we send, listen to this, we send the second greatest number of campers to Green Family Camp. The only congregation that exceeds us is Emmanuel Dallas, a congregation that is 3 times our size. While our primary association is with Green, we also have campers attending Camp Young Judea, Blue Star in North Carolina, and other reform camps throughout the country. Children who spend their summers at Jewish summer camp come to see Judaism in a new light. At camp, they live as Jews and they share their daily existence with other Jews. Many campers, particularly those who return year after year, develop lasting, really lifelong relationships. I'm telling you that the bridal parties and the groomsmen at the wedding, camp friends. In fact, camp now, because of social media, camp never ends because these kids are all year long. They're always connected in a way that Lori and I could not have imagined when we first started going to GFC some 25 years ago. Camp exposes a child to what it means to live as a Jew in every moment, from opening day to the singing of stars in the sky. Those of you who've gone to camp know what I'm talking about. You want your children and grandchildren to have a strong Jewish identity? Send them to Jewish summer camp. Next, foster and maintain a personal relationship with the state of Israel. When we think of Israel, too many of us are focused on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as the defining reality of Israel. It is not. Israel is a multifaceted, complex Jewish society. It is not Jewish Disneyland. No one's walking around with funny hats and shorts. Instead, it is a richly diverse, modern society rooted in its Jewish identity. It is the only place in the world where one can live immersed in Jewish culture and on Jewish time. This was striking this morning. I get on Mopac to come down here for services, right? Okay, it's jammed. You want to get on a freeway in Tel Aviv this morning? It's empty. They're roller skating on that freeway. It's the only place where one can live immersed in Jewish culture and Jewish time. And like our own country, Israel is coping with many divisive issues, such as a vast gap between rich and poor, religious oppression from the religious right, particularly towards Reform Jews, and a highly polarized political climate. It lives daily with severe security threats from Iran and its proxy militias. The contrasting reality, however, is that now Israel has constructive relationships with most of the nations that attacked it in 1948, 1967, and 1973. Listen to this. Israel is about to conclude an agreement with Lebanon, to develop an offshore natural gas field that's going to supply both those countries and also sell gas to Southern Europe. As we all know, the quicker that can happen, the better. It's a big deal. Most of all, Israel is the Jewish homeland and home to half the world's Jews. One cannot live a full Jewish life without engaging in some way with Israel. A visit to Israel during one's lifetime is an absolute necessity. In fact, it is a commandment. By the way, next spring, Rabbi Steinman and Kelly Finkel will be leading a group primarily of B'nai Mitzvah candidates and their families, but everybody is invited. Take advantage of the opportunity. Make certain that a birthright trip is part of your child's college or post-college years. Subscribe to an English language version of the Israeli press. You can get on your phone every single day Haaretz, the Jerusalem Post, the Times of Israel, all in English. Follow Israeli events, discuss them in your home. Find an outlet for your own interest in Israel. Now, we often think about this as political involvement through AIPAC or J Street or wherever you might be across the political spectrum. But there's many other ways to attach to Israel. You can support and engage the work of the Jewish National Fund, which provides vital infrastructure projects. You can advocate for the reform movement in Israel through ARZA, the Zionist arm of the reform movement. You can support educational institutions like Ben Gurion University of the Negev or any number of service organizations who also deserve your support. Also, please consider purchasing Israel bonds. These bonds help to provide funds that are necessary for development in Israel, and frankly, right now the rates are pretty competitive. The simple fact is that Israeli governments come and go, but the Israeli government is not Israel. In the words of the Israeli Declaration of Independence, Israel is to be, quote, based on freedom, justice, and peace as envisioned by the prophets of Israel, unquote. There is no other nation in the world that can make that statement. There is no other nation in the world that is a safe haven for the Jewish people. Like the United States, Israel does not always live up to its ideals, but after 2,000 years, the Jewish people have been given the opportunity to maintain a Jewish homeland, a singular place where a Jew can live a fully realized Jewish life, God willing, in peace and security. But I got to tell you, the greatest threat to Israel is not on the left, and it's not on the right. It's not Iran or Palestinian militants. The greatest threat to Israel is our own apathy. In our time, Israel is the focal point of Jewish existence and civilization. Lo ticha lehitalem. We cannot be indifferent. Send your children and grandchildren to Jewish summer camp. Cultivate a set of Jewish friends. One of the great joys of this job is watching our families interact with each other on Sunday mornings, seeing that special connection that comes with sharing life in a faith community. I also love it when we have a B'nai Mitzvah and the two kids have known each other since they were together in the ECP. This These relationships are what bind our community together. We share each other's pain when we have to and double each other's sense of celebration at other times. I got to tell you a quick story. This is really neat. Laura and I were on a vacation once, and we come back, and we're going to come home, and we go to the gate, and lo and behold, there's like 3 or 4 other congregant families who had gone off on vacation together. It was wonderful to see that nature of relationship. Rabbi Steinman spoke last night about maybe trying a different, adding a little more ritual to one's life. She suggested you might want to build a sukkah. Don't tell her. You don't have to. There's going to be a sukkah right outside the front doors thanks to our brotherhood this year, as it is every year. Here's what I suggest. Find another family or two, order a pizza, make a reservation on the temple website to use the sukkah, and go have a meal together. There'll be a little of a network out there and directions on how to use them if you want to engage in that ritual. But the point is, having Jewish friends makes all the difference. We need to have friends who are similarly rooted in their Jewish identity. So if you don't yet have a circle of Jewish friends, create one. Give Jewishly. Every Jewish family should have a tzedakah fund. And I'm not talking about vast sums of money. I'm talking about a few bucks, okay? But consciously have a tzedakah fund and have regular meetings to discuss how to disperse the funds. While recipients might include many different philanthropies, be sure that Jewish philanthropies are amongst them. I call on you to support Shalom Austin and take advantage of all that it has to offer. Synagogues cannot possibly fulfill every aspect of Jewish life. We need to have, and are blessed to have, a vital central Jewish organization, Austin. And we are fortunate to have the exceptional leadership of its CEO, Rabbi Daniel Septimus, and Rabbi Amy Cohn at Jewish Family Service, as well as our own congregant, Rick Rosenberg, as Shalom Austin's current chair. All of our Jewish lives in Austin are enriched by Shalom Austin, along with the Anti-Defamation League, which I know there are several members of our congregation who are active and board members, and many other local, national, and international Jewish organizations. We deeply appreciate your financial support of this congregation. Let me say it again. We deeply appreciate your financial support of this congregation. But part of Jewish life is supporting Jewish community as well as synagogue life. Please identify one or more Jewish philanthropies and make financial support of their mission part of your tzedakah budget. Make Judaism visible in your home. Display books and works of art that are identifiably Jewish. Place your Judaica out where everybody can see it. Have Jewish music on your iTunes or available on your Alexa, including Israeli pop music. It's not what you think it is. If you think it's a bunch of Ashkenazis draying, forget about it. It's Mizrahi, and it rocks. It is fabulous. Surrounding yourself with Jewish culture is a daily reminder of who we are. Send your children and grandchildren to Jewish summer camp. Live purposefully and consciously as a Jew. The greatest challenge the Jewish people face in America is that for most Jews, Judaism is ancillary to real life. We place Judaism in a neat little box labeled religion, and we open that box on high holidays, Hanukkah, Pesach, your cousin's bar mitzvah, whatever. But that is not fair to Judaism, and it's not fair to you. It is not possible for a synagogue or the organized Jewish community to instill a Jewish identity in anyone, especially our youth. Developing a sense of Jewish identity for yourself and for your children is your job. We are here to provide resources, opportunities, and guidance, but we don't live in your homes. We do not make choices about what to emphasize in the life of your family. I am exceedingly proud of our religious school, but dropping your child off for religious school cannot be one's only regular expression of attachment to the Jewish people. What I am talking about is developing a sense of living Judaism each and every day. For too long, the majority of people in this room and in the Jewish world have been depriving themselves of a rich Jewish heritage that could contribute towards living a more meaningful and purposeful life. There is no reason for a Jew to live a life of quiet desperation. The Jew is called by God to live a life of meaning, and frankly, it's not that hard. As this Torah portion this morning says, Lo b'shamayim hi, it is not in the heavens. It really is in each of our hearts and our mouths. Let me give you an example that Lori and I have talked about a lot. There's been a proliferation of stores with self-checkout in these last few years. What's the Jewish ethical issue raised by self-checkout? Well, having self-checkout, that's a convenience to us as shoppers. But the store also sees it as a way to limit the number of people they have to hire in order to work the regular cashiers. We all have times when we have other pressing obligations. And self-checkout is the fastest way out of the store. And fulfilling those other obligations is really important. I mean, it's usually like picking up your kids or something like that, right? But is that the case all the time? Aren't there times when providing somebody else with a job, the number one act of tzedakah, on Maimonides' rungs, 8 rungs of tzedakah, isn't there times that might outweigh the convenience of checking out groceries ourselves? I'm not saying there's something intrinsically unethical about self-checkout. There isn't. There is no intrinsically Jewish outcome here. What is Jewish is being aware enough to engage in the analysis itself. Thinking and living as a Jew infuses meaning into every aspect of life. Thinking like a Jew means to recognize the moral and ethical potential in every moment, in every encounter with a living being. What do I do first in the morning? Feed the dog or make coffee? The dog. Judaism teaches the dog needs to be fed first. Got a new car? Get in behind the wheel? How about a shehachianu? That really worked for the first day of school also. Tempted to say something nasty about somebody else? Listen carefully, because the plurality of the transgressions mentioned in the vidui, the confessional we'll be reciting in a few minutes, have to do with the utterances of our mouths. Thinking and living Jewishly brings a richness and depth of meaning to life. Every moment of every day provides the Jew with the opportunity to tip the scales of the universe towards righteousness. In his treatise on Teshuvah, Maimonides teaches that every human being should view themselves in the universe as being equally balanced between guilt and innocence. Every transgression tips the universe towards guilt and destruction, while every good deed tips the scales towards merit, salvation, and deliverance. Or as Abraham Joshua Heschel teaches, in every event, there is something sacred at stake. No pressure. But consider how much richer and how much meaningful our lives would be if we viewed them in this context. If we viewed the decisions we make each and every day as affecting not only our own lives and those closest to us, but the entire life of the universe. It turns a good deed into a mitzvah. It injects moral judgment into a business deal. It provides a greater awareness of the daily miracle of simply being. Developing a Jewish framework for living is what ultimately connects us to our Jewish roots and our Jewish values, something we talk about a lot, but don't often actualize. Now, there is a challenge, and that challenge is that we then have to delve more into Jewish tradition as we become more attuned to exploring these issues. But that is what we are here for, along with the internet, of course. I wish I could convey to you the joy that we as your clergy feel every time a congregant says, Rabbi or cantor, I have a question. Your questions are not an interruption of our work. They are our work. Send your children and grandchildren the Jewish summer camp. I want you to know what a blessing it has been to be your rabbi over these last 21 years, and for Lori and I to have shared in the Jewish journey of so many of our families. I thank you all not only for sharing my Jewish journey as a rabbi, but also including me and Judaism in some of the most meaningful moments in your lives. Being a rabbi is not a profession, it's a way of life. It's a way of life that Lori and I chose together, can't look at you, and have shared together. Through 20 years of her teaching in our religious school, her mentorship of countless B'nai Mitzvah students, choir rehearsals, temple risk management, and just countless days, nights, and especially weekends dedicated to Judaism and the building Temple Beth Shalom. In modern times, rabbinic spouses are not necessarily expected to be an active member of their congregation or an active part of their partner's rabbinate. My wife chose to be a Rebbitzin, to immerse herself fully in the life of this congregation, and this congregation, and particularly me, have richly benefited from it. It's something, honey, for which I'm profoundly grateful. Finally, when I came to Austin, my friend and professor emeritus at UT, Rabbi Harold Leibowitz, said to me that when meeting with a Jewish student, it was hoped by the end of the conversation, two things would be true: that they would feel better about themselves, and they'd feel better about being Jewish. I hope this can be said about our encounters with each other over these past 20 years. I certainly can say that my life and my Judaism have been richer for having encountered each and every one of you. You may have found some of what I've said this morning to be interesting or helpful. I certainly hope so. But if nothing else, trust me on this one. Send your children and grandchildren to Jewish summer camp. Gemar Hatima Tova. As they say, please be seated. Thank you. Thank you. That was, yeah. Not even close to being able to have words. Thank you, Rabbi.